Uxbridge, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And let me also offer, as my colleagues have, my thoughts and prayers for the residents and community of Fort McMurray, Alberta. Madam Speaker, it is an honor to rise in this House today to speak on our government's first budget bill, C-15, on behalf of my community of Pickering Uxbridge. I'm very proud to support Budget 2016 because this is a budget that is making investments in Canada and Canadians. The investments outlined in Budget 2016 focus on growing the economy and ensuring that we are making decisions that not only help Canadians in the short and medium term, but with a focus on also securing long-term growth for future generations. Madam Speaker, after 10 years of working on budgets at the municipal level, I can proudly say that not only is this budget for middle-class and working Canadians, it's a budget that finally provides support for cities and towns across this country. Our immediate infrastructure investment of $11.9 billion will build roads, improve wastewater facilities, and ensure that municipalities are ready to withstand the new challenges climate change presents. These investments will create tens of thousands of jobs, boost the economy, and send a strong message to municipalities that after a decade of having your issues and priorities ignored, you have a strong partner in this federal government. Budget 2016 delivers on so many areas that will help our communities and residents. As a community with a high number of young families, the new Canada Child Benefit will help thousands of my constituents back home and millions of Canadians across the country. With the high and rising costs of raising a family, the CCB will provide more money and is tax-free and income-based. This is important because it means more money for families that really need the help. Budget 2016 will also invest in social infrastructure projects, which includes childcare centres that will improve access to high-quality childcare spaces for Canadians. In my region, this investment is critical as we have thousands of residents on waiting lists for childcare. Madam Speaker, investments in this type of infrastructure is long overdue. Budget 2016 is also better weaving rural Canada into our shared economy. Our government is making a $500 million investment to bring high-speed internet to rural communities like Uxbridge and North Pickering. We know that in our ever-globalized economy, reliable internet service is critical to every business, and that includes farming. A broken piece of equipment like an alternator or propeller shaft could shut down production and cause economic losses. But with reliable high-speed internet access, those losses can be minimized, as acquiring that new part could be as easy as one click away. A stable internet connection is needed not only for businesses in our rural communities, but it's critical to our everyday lives. From paying bills online to students doing homework assignments or someone applying for a new job. We often take for granted how much our daily lives rely on the internet. For rural communities, this lack of reliable connection can mean missed business opportunities or time away from their families. Madam Speaker, as a member of the Standing Committee on Finance, we heard testimony last week from representatives from KPMG as well as Commissioner Trouche of Canada Revenue Agency in regards to the Isle of Man tax avoidance scheme. I'm proud that Budget 2016 is making an historic investment of over $440 million to the CRA to combat such tax evasion and avoidance schemes. Testimony last week in committee showed why investment is so important. During Mr. Trouche's testimony, while referring to the previous decade under the last government, he stated, and I quote, "Obviously, we have come through a period of considerable fiscal restraint, but during that time, we redeployed as best we could. This period," end quote. This period of considerable restraint is highlighted in a November 16, 2012 press release from the Treasury Board that said nearly 3,000 jobs were eliminated under the former government. In the 2013 budget, there were $259 million over 5 years of cuts from the CRA. I am sure we have all heard the horror stories from constituents who just need some questions answered, but have to wait months for a response. Well, Madam Speaker, it's no wonder the service levels suffered with such massive cuts. This also affected CRA's ability to go after tax avoidance schemes like the Isle of Man program offered by KPMG. In October 2010, internal audit by Canada Revenue Agency expressed concerns that, and I quote, cases that could potentially represent significant criminal noncompliance can be rejected by a specific TSO enforcement group because of limited resources. Officers are choosing smaller cases of lower dollar value that do not necessarily represent the greatest risk. This supports the observations by some program staff that officers are choosing smaller cases that represent quick hits, end quote. I believe these budget pressures from the previous government led to an unfair enforcement system where Canadians owing money who happened to be wealthy and could afford accountants and lawyers were less likely to be pursued than those Canadians who owed much smaller amounts but were viewed as easily to collect because they could not hire lawyers or professionals to work on their behalf with CRA. I think we can all agree on both sides of this House that every Canadian needs to pay their fair share in taxes, and that the choices the CRA makes in enforcing these collections should not be determined by who can pay to litigate or not. However, the CRA can only operate in a fair manner if they have the tools and resources to do so. This is why I fully support the investment in Budget 2016, which will provide these tools and resources to the CRA. Speaking about this investment, Commissioner Trush stated, quote, "The new budget gives us enormous new investments that will yield a return to the Crown and will move us forward on addressing the concerns that I know Canadians have," end quote. After all, Madam Speaker, the unpaid taxes that are owed is a loss to all Canadians, as it means lost revenue to invest in things that will strengthen our economy, like infrastructure and transit improvements, as well as innovative healthcare research. Madam Speaker, Budget 2016 is also ensuring that seniors are able to retire with financial security. This includes providing increased benefits which would allow more seniors in Pickering and Uxbridge to have a dignified, comfortable, and secure retirement. This budget follows through on a number of commitments we made to seniors during the last election. We promised to roll back the age in which seniors can access their OAS GIS from 67 to 65, and we have delivered on that pledge. Our government also recognized the importance of ensuring seniors have access to high-quality, affordable housing. That's why we are boosting funds for construction, repair, and adaptation of affordable housing for seniors across the country. Madam Speaker, Canadians work hard their entire lives with the expectation that they will retire in comfort and security. I'm proud to say that Budget 2016 makes that goal a reality for thousands of more seniors. Although my riding of Pickering Uxbridge does not have a large Indigenous population, the investments in Budget 2016 regarding this issue are important to all communities. We are all aware of the living conditions some of our Indigenous populations face, and it is outrageous that some communities do not have access to clean drinking water. I'm proud that this budget is investing $2.2 billion in clean water infrastructure to finally end on-reserve boil advisories. This is on top of other investments, including $2.6 billion that will boost First Nations K-12 education and $40 million to ensure an inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and children is as comprehensive and thorough as possible. Madam Speaker, I recognize that this budget will not fix all the wrongs of the past, but as a parliamentarian and as a Canadian, I am proud that we have a Prime Minister who's deeply committed to ensuring a better future for Indigenous peoples and fostering better relationships nation to nation. Madam Speaker, to be part of a government focused on bettering the lives of our Indigenous populations is extremely meaningful to me. Budget 2016, and by extension Bill C-15, fulfills the commitments we made to Canadians, and this is why I'm so proud to rise today in this House on behalf of my constituents to lend it my support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments?